Hi, in this video we're going to go over fascia boards and drip edge. Now, let's jump right in. A fascia board is the wooden board that a gutter is secured or attached to. Now, gutters are almost always secured to a fascia board. Now, this here, that is, let's get a pointer. This here, this is the fascia board, and the gutter is secured by a hidden hanger, a hidden bracket. It's secured directly into the fascia board. Now, fascia boards come in about 10-foot seams and sections, so they're seamed. They have 10-foot sections. It's like going to buy a 2x4 at Home Depot. They come in 10-foot sections. The same way with fascia boards. They come in 10-foot sections, and they're installed right next to each other with a seam every 10 feet. Now, they can sometimes be, gutters can sometimes be attached to a rafter tail if there is no fascia board. Here's an example of that picture. We don't come across this very often. It does make our job a lot harder, but here there's no fascia board, and these are rafter tails right here. And in this case, the gutter is secured to the rafter tail. So instead of putting a screw or a hanger every, say if someone wanted to do it every 10 or 12 inches, you can't do that here. You're going to have to do it only at these rafter tails, however distance they're apart. And they're usually 24 inches apart, which is the normal distance, which is fine to separate brackets that far. However, you just have to make sure that you get your bracket directly into that, and it has to be exactly 24 so that your screw goes into that. Now, it is common when there is a fascia board for the fascia boards to rot. So because it is made out of wood, even if it's finished, even if it's nice wood, if it is getting exposed to moisture, it is very common for the fascia boards to rot. Now, there's different reasons for the fascia board to get wet, for it to start rotting out. The most common is this piece of metal right here is missing. Now, that piece of metal can be called drip edge, roof edge, or flashing. But it is very common for the fascia board to be rotten because this piece of metal right here is not properly installed, or it's missing altogether. Now, if the fascia is rotten, the best thing to do is to take that gutter off, replace the fascia board, and then put the gutter back on. Now, if it's rotten in just a little bit, in a small area, or just a corner, or just an edge, a lot of times you'll see it where corners of a gutter system are leaking, and the corner of the fascia where the two come together, that starts to, you can see paint chipping away. You can see it starting to rot. It's very expensive to replace fascia board, so it's best to, if it's a small issue, we have to stop the leak, the leak at the source, which is resealing that corner. And then if there's no more moisture coming through, if there's no more way that that water is getting there, then one can patch up and clean up that wood and paint it, make it look as good as possible. So it could be patched and repaired. But if it's a longer stretch, if it is a long piece of wood that's starting to rot out, and that's very flimsy, and that's very fragile, and that's breaking and coming apart, that fascia needs to be replaced. That fascia needs to be removed, and it needs to be secured back onto the rafter tails, painted and finished, whatever needs to happen. But we need to be able to have new fascia so that you can put the gutter right back onto it. It's also common for fascia to be wrapped with aluminum. As you can see in this picture here, this gentleman is wrapping a fascia board. So this is that board right there, and he's wrapping it by putting an aluminum piece over it. It's common to do it. It adds curbside appeal. It's it's somewhat inexpensive to do, but it gives you more flexibility. Instead of painting it, your fascia board, you can add different colors for contrast, and then you'd obviously put the gutter on top of that. So I want to talk a little bit about the flashing, the roof edge, or the drip edge. Different people call it different names, but the purpose of this roof edge is to go underneath the shingles, underneath the roof, just like that, and then go inside the gutter, just like that, so that this exposed fascia board right here is covered. Now, if this if this drip edge right here, if this piece of metal was missing, water can go down this roof like that, and during a slower rainfall, it could curl up and it could start dripping right in the back here and get this fascia board wet, and then it can start dripping on the fascia board. You may see that, and it's fairly common to see water stains on a fascia board because water is slowly dripping there. Sometimes this gutter could actually be shorter right here. This is normal height, this is all fine, but it's common as well for this gutter in the back to either be cut out or for it to be shorter, which exposes this fascia board even more. And that is that there's a risk and a possibility of that fascia board rotting out. So the purpose of this drip edge or roof edge or flashing is to make sure that when water drips from this roof, And if it touches this flashing, as you can see, it's overlapping the gutter. So there's no way it can back up back in there. It'll go into the gutter and out of the downspout. It is common, though, it does happen where if the gutter is not sloped properly and water starts to accumulate and you have a lot of water in this gutter and it starts to fill up, it can start going, as it fills up, it can start going above the drip edge and going and getting that fascia board wet. So that is a recap on how gutter system, on how a fascia board works and how the flashing works. Here is an image as well of what that looks like. So this goes underneath the shingles. As you can see, the roof or the shingles, that goes underneath and goes inside. And you can see that exactly here. It goes underneath and it goes inside, and it overlaps and covers that fascia just like that. It's common for us to come across homes that don't have any fascia at all. Some homes in different parts of the country, in different parts of where we're at, were not built with flashing or with the drip edge. It was not part of code. It was not required. Now, some homes just do have it installed, but it wasn't installed properly, or it's missing in a few places. So this is a common scenario that we come across, either to repair, replace, or just install it completely if it's missing. So that's a short recap about fascia boards and drip edge. Thanks for watching.